What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing the full Machop evolution line, as they all have access to the newly buffed Karate Chop, which might be the new best fast move in the entire game. However, even in a meta where wing attack users no longer exist, and therefore a lot of last season's top flying type Pokemon are no longer around, it still feels like there are so many Pokemon that just completely wall the fighting typing, and since these Pokemon only have coverage in the form of nuke charge moves, and across the entire team there's only a single move that can hit ghost types for anything other than double resisted damage, this was an incredibly difficult team to run, but a lot of the wins that I did pick up were absolutely insane. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. What is your favourite move update so far this season? Now, I'm not asking for a specific Pokemon with that move, I just want to know the move that's either got a buff or a nerf this season. Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, heading into the first battle, Shadow Machamp into Ariados. Obviously, this is an awful matchup, and obviously we're running Payback here, but they're probably going to be shielding our coverage anyways, as Machamp does have access to both Rock Slide and Stone Edge. They're going straight for Trailblaze, which got a buff this season. They can get there in just 5 Poison Stings, and Poison Sting also got a buff this season, so definitely not ideal for us. We're going to swap into our Machoke, otherwise Machamp would get fully farmed down there, but the opponent's actually going to swap out of that matchup and into Greninja. I'm definitely not going to complain here. Chop gets the KO up against Greninja. They come back in with Ariados. They go for the farm down, but they don't get there in time. Return coming through, gets the nuke up against the Ariados, and they've got a Dugong in the back. And now suddenly, even though this looked like an awful lead matchup for us, we might be able to go for a 2 shield flex in this matchup. So going to go for the cross chop there. The opponent has overfarmed quite significantly, but unless they're running like Blizzard, then we should be able to tank this. So I'm going to no shield, go for the cross chop here, and hopefully the opponent does recognize there's nothing they can do here, and so they just let the Dugong go down. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Shiny Shadow Machamp into Malamar. Now, one thing I was thinking was if I run close combat in the lead, maybe in neutral lead matchups, we can just full send that close combat right off the bat and hopefully get a nuke. And it works exactly as planned in this battle here. Gonna swap now into my Machop, and because Karate Chop's energy generation is so fast, we actually outpace them to the cross chop there before they even make it to a Hydro Cannon. So grabbing a shield very early in this matchup, we're now going to shield up the Hydro Cannon here, and I did wait there, but the opponent makes a very nice catch there, catching the cross chop onto Clodsire. That is resisted damage. It does not do much damage, and Clodsire is another reason why this team was so difficult to run. It's so bulky, and of course it does resist the fighting typing. But we're going to swap, make a beautiful catch onto our Shadow Machamp there. The opponent actually goes for Stone Edge, which doesn't quite take us out, which actually is a little bit worse for us because they get some extra farm. But either way, we're going to wait out the switch shock here, come in with our purified Machoke, and by the time we've done a few more Karate Chops, we should put them into cross chop range. But we are going to wait here until the opponent swaps back into Feraligatr, making sure we've got some energy loaded so we can throw straight away, but that doesn't quite get the KO there, which is very unfortunate. So gonna have to shield the Hydro Cannon. We are at the cross chop already, so gonna fire it off straight away, and then I will be swapping immediately into my Machop, and we are able to make it to another cross chop on the Machop, and Machop will be taking out the Clodsire, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there. Into next game, we see a Drifblim in the lead now. There is literally only one win condition here. If we go for the payback, and it does connect, but like I've mentioned already, they're probably going to shield anyway, so payback gets shielded, and we just have to surrender because there is literally nothing we can do. They are going to double or even triple resist all of the remaining moves there, so might as well just end that game straight away. But here, into next battle, great lead. The opponent say swaps into Gastrodon, and close combat nearly one-shots them, but it doesn't quite, so I'm forced to swap out there, catch the Body Slam onto my Machop, but that's fine. But this is definitely not fine, as they come in with a Wigglytuff, and suddenly, well, things looked great for us, but now things look awful as we grab a shield there from the Wigglytuff. Not too bad, but I'd definitely prefer the damage here. I mean, Machoke should be able to make it to back-to-back cross chops here, so that's not too bad, but honestly, they've still got a shield in play. You can see cross chop doesn't do that much damage. It's only neutral up against the Wigglytuff. They go for the Icy Wind, so I'm going to clear the debuff, hoping to make it to a close combat, and we do get there with the damage registration error. Close combat grabs the final shield. We go for the cross chop immediately here, but do we have enough health remaining to make it to another cross chop up against the Sand Slash? It's close, but we just barely don't get there, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there. If we had maybe an actual good IV Machoke, then we could have won that game. But unfortunately, you can see the IVs on these Pokemon are pretty meh. I think Machoke was traded to me because I didn't want to use an Elite TM on Karate Chop, or no, on Cross Chop even, because Cross Chop is an Elite TM move on that Machop there. So either way, we're going to swap into our Machop here. Cross Chop is not a legacy move on the Machop though, so I'm going to fire it off straight away. Cross Chop is going to grab a shield as we win CMP up against the Nidoqueen. Honestly, not really sure what I'm seeing, why I'm seeing a Nidoqueen in this season when Clodsire is just so much better. But either way, going to come back in with Machop, and we just barely don't get that Karate Chop farm down. So going to shield this up here as they go for the Poison Fang. I'm just going to blind throw a close combat here, and they come in with a Steel type. It's Berserker, and Berserker is going to be straight in and straight out. Get that Berserker off my screen. Shout out to Jamie Finn for that quote. And they've got a double in the back, so yeah, looking pretty good for us now. Of course, Nidoqueen, very problematic to deal with in the lead, but they had two Pokemon weak to the fighting typing in the back. We can easily outpace them here. I did think about going for a full Karate Chop farm down, but I realized they were going to throw a Charge Move anyways and waste my time, so I might as well throw a Cross Chop there, taking out the double, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to opponent there into the next battle. We see Alolan Marowak in the lead. So like the Drifblim, we need to land the payback here, but we are at least tanking these Fire Spins a lot more comfortably than we were tanking the Astonishes from that Drifblim. So gonna fire off the payback straight away. Honestly, I probably should bait here. They're pretty obviously gonna shield that. And you can see we're not quite making it to another move, so I'm gonna have to swap into my Machop. We are one away from the payback there, so hopefully we can get to a payback later in the battle. But there it is, another Pokemon that is going to resist the fighting typing. At least we can hit for neutral damage with these returns here as they swap out, but either way, not a good matchup for us. Gonna no shield. Ice Beam will be taking me out there, but we can come in with the Machoke, and unfortunately I think they will outpace me to the next charge move, but that's okay. Gonna use my shield, and then I will massively overfarm in this matchup. And the opponent's actually going to swap back into Marowak, so if we can maybe grab a shield here, we should be okay. And we do grab the shield, so we're going to swap into Machop, and we tried to get off the payback there, but we stutter lag. And we did need to rely on damage registration error to get off the charge move there, but unfortunately the stutter lag means that I don't even get the opportunity to try and throw the charge move there, which is very frustrating, but GG's to that trainer there. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Galarian Stunfisk in the lead. So great lead, but unfortunately, we're going to swap into another Pokemon that does resist the fighting typing, and again, they're always going to be shielding up either a Rock Slide or a Stone Edge, so going for the payback doesn't really help me as they do shield, but either way, going to shield up the Sky Attack. Sky Attack does cost more energy this season, so this actually isn't going to be that bad of a matchup. We go for the return, and unfortunately they double shield, but Machoke just barely hanging on, making it to a second return, and return will get the KO up against the Altaria. But they've got yet another Pokemon that does resist the fighting typing. It's very frustrating, but it is what it is. Is there still a way for us to win this? I'm going to no-shield the first move as they just go straight for an Ice Beam. So I know I can live that, so going to let that go through. We're going to go for the return. Return does big damage here. And now this is a little bit risky, but I'm going to commit to the return. We don't get there in time. I realize if I go for a cross shot there and they don't throw, then that is going to be problematic for me. But can Machamp actually make it to back-to-back charge moves here? It's definitely helped by the fact that the opponent throws. They should just commit to a full bubble farm down. And now we just barely make it to the back-to-back close combat. It's the first one, will be enough damage to take out Azumarill, but is this enough damage to fully nuke Galarian Stunfisk? Yes, it is. It gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So GG set up over there. Into the next game, we see Cresselia in the lead. Now, this is a matchup where I'm thinking, obviously, yeah, they are going to be resisting the fighting type damage, but they might not expect a payback, so we full send it, and it nearly one-shots Cresselia, but they swap into Diggersby, and do they know about the close combat here? They might no-shield a cross chop, but unfortunately they do end up shielding there, so we're going to swap into Machop. We're able to make it to the charge move on the CMP tie. Cross chop is going to be no-shielded. It doesn't do enough damage to take them out, but that's okay. I'm going to no-shield as they go for the Fire Punch. No problem there whatsoever. I'm going to no-shield once again as they go for another Fire Punch, and we're going to go for the Cross Chop, but they swap and catch it onto Cresselia, which is absolutely fine with me, because that will actually take out Cresselia there. They don't get off any energy whatsoever. Probably a mistake there from the opponent, but they've got a Confusion Bronzong in the back, and this is not ideal for me. Running an ABA double Psychic team is kind of interesting, but I guess with the Steel typing, they do play very differently, Cresselia and Bronzong. But anyways, going to go for another cross chop there, and we are going to come in with the Machop, and we're able to make it to yet another cross chop. Machop coming in clutch, taking out the Bronzong. They come back in with the Diggersby, and again, another 2 shield flex up against my opponent, and I'm able to take that game. game. So GG set up over there, into next game, we see Shadow for Alligator in the lead, so we're actually going to swap out of that matchup just because I can outpace them to a cross chop on my Machop. And by the way, in terms of stats, Machop does have slightly better stats than Machop. Machop is, by the way, a level 51 best buddy boosted Hundo purified Machop there, so unfortunately you can see it doesn't actually quite make it to 1500 CP, so Machop just barely beats it there, so that's why I swapped into my Machop. But either way, we actually don't quite take them out with the cross chop and the karate chop damage, but we put them into farm down range for the Machamp. So going to come in, get that farm down, and they come in with a Talonflame, and this is where if I had Stone Edge or Rockside, then they're going to be shielding anyway, so we're going to go for a payback here. Payback does grab that shield, and we're only making it to a close combat, but this is still going to do a lot of damage despite being resisted. So close combat nearly takes them out there, and the opponent goes for an extra Incinerate. We are going to have to no-shield the first move as they go for the Flame Charge bait there. I'm now going to shield this next charge move, as of course Flame Charge would be taking us out, but two more Karate Chops gets the farm down. But they've got a Quagsire in the back, and despite being slightly slower to make it to the charge moves this season, Cross Chop, I need to still land a return to get the KO, and they do just barely outpace me to the charge move. Aquitail gets the KO, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG set up over there into next game, we see Charizard in the lead, but they are running Fire Spin, which did get a buff this season, so of course, Wind Attack nerfed, Fire Spin buffed, we're going straight for close combat, and the opponent no-shields that, which is quite surprising since, of course, if I was running Rockside, that would just fully one-shot them. But either way, we're going to swap there, a bit unfortunate, maybe could have just let Machamp go down there, but I was panicking thinking they'd go for a full Fire Spin farm down, but you can see the opponent accidentally came in with their Abomasnow first, before swapping into their Swampert, so I already know their final Pokemon, I can just safely no-shield this. I'm actually going to commit to a return here, as return would do a lot more damage than a single cross shot. We make it to back-to-back cross shots there, but of course, the mud shot takes us out there, so I'd only get off one, so might as well full send the return. We're now going to come in with the Machop here. They're going to fire off the charge move pretty much straight away, so going to shield this, and then I will be looking to catch the next Hydro Cannon onto my Machamp, as I don't know if I would take them out with a cross shot from that range. Now at this point, this is game over. We can just safely, massively overfarm here, go for a cross shot just before they make it to the Hydro Cannon. Cross shot gets the KO, and I'm going to make it to back-to-back cross shots here up against the Abomasnow. The first one will be coming through, that does big damage, and a second cross shot will of course get the KO from this range, and I'm able to take out the Abomasnow and take that game. So GG set up over there, into next game we see Shadow Machamp into Clodsire, so not great for us, but of course I can just full send a payback. The typical moveset for Shadow Machamp would be completely walled by Clodsire, so I don't expect them to shield, and even a payback, whilst it does do big damage there, they do tank that very comfortably. I'm going to shield as they go for a Sludge Bomb there, which is very interesting, and unfortunately another Pokemon that does resist the fighting typing, so going to full send the return here. Return is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, which is fine. But even then, I still have to land another return to get the KO here. But I'm hoping, since we've already landed one, maybe we can grab a shield with the cross shot here. And we do grab that shield. But they unfortunately put me into perfect Fairy Wind farm down range. So definitely not ideal here. We're going to wait out the Switch Clock come in with Armor Choke. And I'm going to no-shield the first charge move, as they will make it to back-to-back charge moves very comfortably. But either way, going to have to shield the second one here, as Aerial Ace will get the KO. And I am going to overfarm in this matchup, throw just before they make it to the next charge move. Cross Chop is going to be shielded. We actually threw on the CMP tie there, which was intentional. At this point, I'm gonna have to let, oh never mind, the opponent undercharges that, so we swap into our Machamp, and the opponent swaps into Shadow for Alligator. Now we're at back-to-back close combats. The first close combat will get the one shot here, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's gonna come in with their Jump Bluff once again, so unfortunately I can't overfarm that much in this matchup, so I actually go for a full undercharge. I stop attacking there, and that way I can maybe get some energy on my Machop and make it to a charge move up against the Clodsire, but unfortunately they are just too healthy here. We make it to the cross chop at the last possible second, but that doesn't do nearly enough damage, and unfortunately anything they throw here on 1 HP will be taking out my Machop, and we do end up losing that game. But GG's to the trainer there. Into the next battle, going to see another Alolan Sand Slash in the lead. So great leaf matchup for us, and they're not even swapping out. So I don't have a clue what they've got in the back, but this is definitely questionable, although they do grab an early shield advantage. But either way, I'm going to now fire off back-to-back close combats. First one, unfortunately, is shielded, so we're just going to fire off the second one straight away, winning the CMP tie. Close combat number 2 grabs the final shield from the opponent. And at this point, I'm just going to let Machamp go down here to the Hydro Cannon. Going to come in with my Machoke, as once again, it does have slightly better stats than Machop. I'm going to no-shield this as, I mean, whilst it does have slightly better stats, it's basically the exact same thing as the Machop, and we just barely make it to the return there. They tried to go for a snipe with the Razor Leaf damage, but the return nearly takes them out there. We get the Karate Chop farm down. We can Karate Chop farm down the Alolan Sand Slash as well, and make it to a return up against the Swampert coming back in. And of course, from this range, return gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. Excuse me there. But GG's to that trainer there. Into the next battle, we see Dragalge in the lead. So of course, another lead matchup, which they're going to resist the fighting type damage. So I swap there just because Machop is going to be slightly bulkier, but they do farm up to a potential outrage. I'm going to shield. It's just the Arctotail bait, and unfortunately another poison type. Like, what on earth is this team? Either way, we're going to fire off the return. Return does some big damage there. I'm going to wait and throw on the CMP type with a potential Scald, although the opponent actually just fires off the Acid Spray. So Acid Spray not going to get the KO there. We can go and fire off a cross shot, and I'm hoping to grab a shield here, but the opponent does just let the Tentacle go down, which is definitely worse for me, as they can come back in with Dragalge and just go for a Dragon Tail farm down. Now at this point, this is just going to be another Aquatail, so I'm going to let that go through here, and then I'm going to overfarm, and the opponent actually swaps into Scrafty, and this is such a strange play from the opponent, but either way, going to fire off a cross chop. We actually grab the shield there, and I'm going for another cross chop. I was hoping to make it to back-to-back, but unfortunately, not quite going to get there in time, but we grab both shields from the opponent, which is a very interesting play for sure. They're going to go for a Power Punch. I'm going to farm 2 back-to-back close combats here. I'm hoping to make it to a payback up against Dragalge, coming back in, and we live the Dragon Tail damage, but I underestimated the energy on Dragalge, and I looked this up after the battle. A close combat, even resisted, would have done 50% to that Dragalge's health, and I would have won that game if I just threw the close combat there, but unfortunately, committing to the payback, we don't get there in time, and so they're able to take me out there. But GG's to that trainer. Into the next battle, we see Skarmory in the lead. Skarmory got a double nerf this season with Steel Wing. Does it generate less energy this season? I can't really remember. But also okay, we go for the close combat, get the nuke there. Also, Sky Attack does cost more energy as well, so I actually don't even know the counts for Skarmory anymore. But either way, we're going to come in with Armor Choke. Another tricky matchup here, but we're going to bait with a Cross Chop. Toxicroak pretty glassy. They're probably going to shield. They do shield, and we are just barely able to make it to the return in time. Return will, of course, get the KO up against the Toxicroak, and they've got a Galarian Stunfisk in the bag. The opponent probably thought, okay, we just beat 2 fighting type Pokemon, but no, there's a 3rd fighting type in the back in the form of Machop, and so they just concede the match there. So GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we see another Clodsire in the lead. So once again, I don't expect them to shield the payback, so just going to full send it straight away. And if we do land this, I might even swap out of this matchup. We swap into Machoke, just because Machoke can tank charge moves a lot more comfortably than the Machamp. They full send the Earthquake there, and they swap into Shadow for Alligator. Now, I'm only making it to 1 charge move, as the Shadow Claw will take us out, so might as well full send the return there, grabbing a shield unfortunately, but of course if it did connect, it would get the 1 shot. Now, we're going to come in with Armor Chop, as we can spam these charge moves slightly faster than the Machamp, and we can go for a Cross Chop here, throwing just before they make it to the next charge move. Cross Chop is going to grab the shield. We actually win CMP there, so gonna shield this, and then I will overfarm and throw just before they make it to the next charge move as well, but the opponent swaps back into their Clodsire, so we're gonna swap into our Shadow Machamp, basically just force them to throw the energy, and they go for a Stone Edge, which does not do enough damage to take us out there, but unfortunately we're not gonna make it to back-to-back close combat, so gonna throw the first one here, and they actually come in with a Ferrothorn, and that is not ideal, as I know the opponent has already got 1 away from a Hydro Cannon on their Feraligatr. So basically, I need to be 1 away from a Cross Chop before I throw my Cross Chop here into this Ferrothorn, and unfortunately, we don't quite get there in time, so Power Whip takes us out, and we do unfortunately lose that game. But GG's to the train, and into the final battle of this video, another Clodsire in the lead. Gonna be pretty common to see this season. I've seen like so many Clodsire and Feraligatr pairings, and then that third Pokemon just seems to be completely random, so a little bit harder to predict that third Pokemon. But either way, gonna shield this time. Each time I've played this slightly different. They actually go for a Sludge Bomb there. We're going straight for the close combat, and close combat just barely does take them out there, which is very nice. And again, another Feraligatr, so this is great. Gonna go for the Cross Chop. Cross Chop is going to connect there, and the opponent's going to throw just before we make it to the next charge move. I'm thinking I might live this, and I do just barely live that, which is great, as we can now fire off another Cross Chop. Cross Chop will be coming through, grabbing a shield from the Feraligatr. And at this point, I'm going to wait out the switch slot, come in with my Shadow Machamp. I'm thinking Karate Chop's going to do slightly more damage on the Shadow Machamp, so going to go for that full farm down, but they swap into Goodra. They've already seen a close combat land, so they're probably going to shield this, and they do shield, but we can come in with Armor Choke. And by the way, I do believe that previously Return does do more damage than 2 Cross Chops, but of course Cross Chop did get a buff a couple seasons ago, so I think back-to-back Cross Chops is the safer play. First one does big damage, the second one will definitely get the KO here, and even if they do make it to a charge move, we've still got enough health on our Machamp to get the farm down, but they don't get there anyways, so we take out Feraligatr, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.